What's up, everyone? This is Destroyer229, and welcome to the aftermath of the Bird and the Beast. We are starting here in Armadyl's Tower since this is one of the few remnants of what's left after the battle. There are some changes to the tower. For whatever reason, the excuse me, the Divine Transmitter is still putting divine energy up, even though it kind of doesn't really have much of a purpose or how that even works. But the only personality left here is the Quartermaster, in case you had some renown that you still need to spend. If we head up the tower, the golem pieces and parts are still just kind of left here. Geeka's no longer here, and if we head up to the top floor, Armadyl has flown off, as well as his other, trustworthy people, like the head diviner and Takara. So yeah, no one's really left at Armadyl's tower, and for whatever reason, there's still divine energy being shot up into the weapon, which is kind of strange. The other change, and what is the more major change, is back at Bandos' camp. You see, his camp is pretty much left alone. Like, everyone's just kind of abandoned it. But if we head on over to the Bandos camp, first I have to take a trip to Falador. Karamir and Garlandia are also gone. They've gone, since the battle's over, they've gone to wherever it is wherever it is they are. Probably just trying to rally more support for the Godless, probably. But the biggest change is over here at Bandos' camp. I'm not sure if I've already said that, because what happened came to pass. Armadyl won the battle, and he fired his weapon, leaving nothing but a crater for Bandos' camp. But there is one new personality here, and of course, there's also the Quartermaster here, in case you're on the Bandos side and still need to get rewards. But there is a new personality here, assuming I don't get caught in the wall within that castle. And that is a goblin called Goutbones. Now, Goutbones doesn't have any sort of voice, so I'm gonna have to do this, similar to the Saradomin War Priest. Mornin', come to see the dead High War God? What happened here? Where have you been? Under a rock? I know I was when big fight happened. Safe there. Yes, goblin speaking broken English. That's the Ed of Bandos, dead High War God. He big High War God, but then he got killed pretty bad and got turned to rock. See, there was big scrap between Bandos and big High Chicken God, Armadyl. Bandos, he want big magic stone, so he built big magic thing for killing other gods. Armadyl built one too, despite him being all, let's all be nice and not eat each other. Stupid lying chicken face. It was big fun fight for weeks. Bandos and Armadyl both trying to steal magic glowy stuff for magic god killer things. Carts of the stuff were getting raided all over the place. And people were fighting over the route too, building monoliths and banners and other stuff. Then they had a big scrap over it. Bandos, his people fought hard, but he didn't have many people grabbing the magic stuff. So Armadyl's chicken gun went off first, and he killed Bandos dead. Still, it's not so bad when you think about it. So yeah, that is an interesting point, and really, if you look at the statistics of the battle, it mirrors the Battle of Lumbridge perfectly. On average, people on Bandos' side typically did more to gain divine energy than the Armadyl side. However, Armadyl had strength in numbers. So that allowed so many people to gain so much more divine energy, even though the overall average was much less. So I do wonder if Jagex will take that into consideration when it comes to the next big-scale world event. So, didn't Bandos lose? Well, yeah, but when you think about it, we Bandos warriors still did real good. I mean, there were loads and loads of Armadyl fighters, and we still gave them a good fight the whole way. And look at this, Bandos is dead, but Armadyl only won because he proved him right. The strong crush the weak. So there will be new big high war gods sometime. And next one will have more warriors. That's all we need to win this time. Maybe Armadyl becomes big high war chicken. He got taste for god killing now. He even took Bandos's mace for fighting with too. Sari Doman won't like that one bit, me bet. Not too long till they have a fight too. Can't trust either of them. So yeah, what's interesting is when we actually get to the cutscene. Actually, I should probably hold off on talking about that until after the cutscene. So was there anything left after the event? Yeah, Dead High War God left loads of armor behind. Lots of it got stole by warriors who went fighting God Wars. If you want it back, you need to go fight them for it. While you're there, go fight Armadyl warriors. They got plenty armor too. Heard there were new fighting moves popped up too. The bigwigs down in God Wars, they'll know them if anyone does. Grador and what's-his-face, Kriara. So basically what he said is that in case you didn't get the war preset or the abilities, you can get the pieces of the war preset by fighting various combatants in the God Wars dungeon. Bandos armor for fighting Bandos troops, and Armadyl armor for fighting the Armadyl troops. However, in order to get the abilities, you can get them as drops if you can defeat the head bosses of both the Bandos and the Armadyl areas, which are General Grador for Bandos and Kriara for Armadyl. So let's go ahead and watch this cutscene now. So that is the fate of Bandos. Now what you can also do is that at his head, it's actually now a prayer altar. So you could actually come here to Bandos' head and pray here to restore your prayer points. It's kind of interesting. Now I have been seeing a bit of talk on the forums, and there are quite a lot of people that aren't really happy with that final cutscene. I mean, some people just aren't really thrilled about these cutscenes in general, like they're not as grandiose as they should be, but then again, you have to work with what you got, and these world event cutscenes do kind of have a general theme going on. But the biggest thing that people really don't like about that cutscene was the fact that Armadyl took Bandos' mace and smashed his head in it. People thought that that went very contrary to what Armadyl is as a character. But really, Armadyl has changed a lot since the God Wars. He's not quite as peaceful as he was before. So I could imagine that he would be a bit more aggressive. And, I mean, why he exactly did that, there are a few theories floating around as to why Armadyl really did that. Some think that, oh, well, maybe Bandos shrunk into where his head was, and Armadyl was just making sure he was dead. Other people thought that Armadyl took the losses of his troops really personally. So to smash Bandos' head was revenge. Others thought that that was a way to dissuade Bandos' troops, basically destroying their morale by giving one final swing of Bandos' mace, and even taking the mace as well. Now, Goutbone says that he doesn't think Saradomin's going to be all too pleased with it, but there's not really that much of a significance in Bandos' mace, really. It's not a god artifact or anything. It's more just Bandos' weapon. The reason why Armadyl took it was more symbolic, if anything. But that does conclude the Bird and the Beast. The God of War is dead. The big high war god is no more. Now, unlike the Battle of Lumbridge, Armadyl doesn't seem to have really gained much, if any, power. There is a sort of tier list which gives a general overview of how powerful the gods are. And while Armadyl may have gained a little bit of power, he didn't gain anywhere near enough to go up another tier. I think Armadyl is about tier 4? And there's 7 tiers in total. There's various other things. I'm not entirely sure. Oh boy, someone is going to try to talk to me. I'm not sure entirely about the god tiers. Here, hold on. Let me just answer this guy's question real quick. Okay, sorry about that. Some guy was just asking how do you reclaim, like, the dragon tokens. Or, like, any sort of token. I would have thought it would be the quartermaster, but if not, maybe that's a glitch or something. Oh, well, whatever. But anyway, back to the god tiers. Armadyl may have gained a little bit of power from killing Bandos. And in fact, maybe that would be another reason why he crushed Bandos' head. Usually when a being kills a god, they absorb that god's power. It's how some beings actually manage to get to godhood, such as Gothics, Zamorak, and what is believed to be Siliske, even though we still have no idea if Siliske is a god or not. So Armadyl could have very well been able to gain some power. The difference with those, though, is the fact that in all 3 of those cases, each of those beings were relatively close, like extremely close, to the god they were taking power from. Gothics slayed, what was it, Skagaroth, I believe his name was? With a sword. So he was in very close proximity. Zamorak tripped over the staff of Armadyl and impaled both himself and Zaros with the staff. So they're insanely close. And Siliske was right in front of Gothics. He may have used the staff of Armadyl, but he was still very close to Gothics. He was probably like a couple feet or a few yards away, which kind of sounds a little bit far, but I mean, if you consider how big a god is in this game, that's really not that far. So to shoot down Bandos from what would be many miles away, I mean, when you think of how big Falador would be, and then to go a lot further than that, up to about the length of where Ice Mountain is, that's a long distance. And it wasn't really by the hand of Armadyl. So probably most of Bandos's energy was lost in that. So yeah, maybe there was a little bit of energy and Armadyl was just trying to get some of it back, what little remained in Bandos's head. But he didn't gain a whole lot of energy. He didn't go up a tier like Saradomin did. But what he did gain was a kill. Armadyl is now the only being in Saliske's game who has killed a god, so he has the best chance, as of right now, to claim the Stone of Jas. The other gods aren't gonna take too kindly to that. Or at the very least, Zamorak and Saradomin won't take too kindly to that. But that will do it for this event. So, join me next time for World Event 3. Like I said, if the next World Event is a little bit under consideration, it may just be the Easter event this year, which would be between Marimbo and Braska Prime. If it is, it's going to be insanely lighthearted and probably more akin to the game's traditional holiday events than these big grandiose world events that we've seen thus far. But we'll see. So until next time, everyone, take care. Okay, before we actually end things off, I just realized this right when I hit the stop record button. There's actually a little bit new dialogue if you manage to talk to Zanik. If you'll recall, I'm actually going to start the conversation in case she teleports away. In case you forgot, Bandos mentions about how you try to stop him and succeed in stopping him with Zanik and his chosen commander. Zanik, who was the chosen commander. Now, after the quest, you can actually find Zanik wandering around the world, just in various locations, such as Draenor Village, specifically the Wise Old Man's house. You can find her at the Wizard's Tower, the Range Guild, the Gamer's Grotto, north of Falador, and a few other places as well. But there's a few other choices that Zanik actually has now that the battle is over. Of course, I have to first get to it, and of course, she's also not voiced. So, about Bandos. Bandos is dead! Armadyl killed him, and it's thanks to you. It's thanks to me? His old plan was to stay out of danger and lead his forces via a puppet avatar, but we destroyed the pendant he used to control his avatar. So when the way opened for him to come back, he had to come in person, or not at all. And you see, that's what I was afraid of, was she teleporting away. Because she does that, she only stays for a few minutes, and then she teleports somewhere else. But, since I'm in a dialogue with her, the dialogue continues. Destroying the pendant also weakened him, more than he realized. He thought he was more powerful than Armadyl, but we brought him down to the same level. Most importantly though, we made him angry. He was defeated, not just by another god, but by mortals, and that hurt him more than you can imagine. I don't think he was capable of backing down after that. So what she brings up is very important, is just the fact that mortals, simply the player and Zanik, two just regular mortals, even though Zanik was actually Bandos's chosen commander, and they brought down Bandos. So Bandos could have used Zanik to fight in his stead, but since you destroyed the pendant that made the Bandos avatar, he had to come in person, and that's what partially led to his downfall. So will goblins go back to Ubuisk? Ubuisk, by the way, is the original home of the goblins, and you actually do visit it in the Cave Goblin questline. There's nothing for us there. Ubuisk is dead. Nothing will grow there again. Runescape is our home now. We'll just have to get along with all the other races here. So yeah, you actually do see Ubuisk, and it is a wasteland. There's very little actual land that you can stand on, and most of the other area around it is just surrounded in acid, so there's really nothing there in Ubuisk. So you must be happy now that Bandos is gone for good. I wouldn't tell most people this, but since it's you, I still have nightmares sometimes about being controlled. I think I'm the chosen commander again, leading an army of goblins and killing all these people. But then I wake up, and I remember it's not real, and I'm okay. Then I think about the big world out there, and all the adventures I can go on, and I'm fine. Really, I'm fine. Well, as long as you say you're fine, Zanuck. So, what are you doing in the 6th Age? I joined the Godless as soon as I heard Holstein's speech. Holstein is the emissary for the Godless, by the way. All types of mortals under a common banner, standing together against the gods. It's inspiring, like when the two of us faced Bandos, but on a global scale. But now, I'm not even sure what the Godless are doing. Karamir stood by while 2 gods nearly destroyed Lumbridge, and again at Falador. I begged her to join Armadyl's side against Bandos, but she wouldn't listen. But we have no chance against the gods unless we work together, and the Godless are still our best shot at that. I guess I'll have to see what happens. So yeah, Zanuck brings up a very interesting point. Karamir she's not really the leader of the Godless, but she is very important. She's very well known within Gielinor just because of her adventures from the Runescape novel trilogy. So she's a pretty well-known adventurer on the side of the Godless. However, in both battles, she's just stood by and watched, simply waiting and seeing what the gods can do. Granted, using that opportunity to also gain support for the Godless, and how the gods are, like, look at the destruction the gods are causing. So she's kind of passively gaining support for the Godless in that manner. But the Godless are still not united. I mean, even if you look at Garlandia and compare her to Karamir, Garlandia wants the Godless to participate in more peaceful means, to try to negotiate peace with the gods, and try to get them out of Gielinor through different methods other than violence. Karamir sees violence as the only method. What's also interesting is the fact that they see all gods as dictative beings. I mean, even if you look at it from my perspective, I'm also a member of the Godless. But my personal philosophy is the fact that the Godless can't win without the help of a god. Which is why I pledge my support to Saren, is to try to sway her to support the Godless and protect the Godless. So even if you look at the NPCs and even compared to my own personal beliefs, the Godless are not united. Their only common feature is the fact that they want a world without the influence of the gods. But how they go about in doing it, there's all sorts of different ideas. There is no common ground. There's nothing to really support the Godless, which is why that they remain the weakest group. Is simply because they aren't united. They're under a common banner, but they aren't united in what they want and how to go about in doing it. The gods, they have their ideals. They have their philosophies. They know what they want to do, and they preach what they want to accomplish. The godless just say, look at the gods. They're causing all sorts of trouble. Join us. We want to get rid of them. So they really need to be united. They aren't united. They need to find some sort of common ground, whether it is in negotiating peace with Garlandia, finding some way of being able to banish the gods, which is what Karamir's going after, or try to rally the support of a god, which is what I'm trying to do. Well, even though you've already teleported a while ago, Zanuck, goodbye. Goodbye, Destroyer. See you soon. Okay, so now that that little extra dialogue option's out of the way, now, until next time, everyone, take care.